Welcome to viewers of Good Morning DRC TV. I thought today I'll give you a little bit of an insight in terms of what is unfolding in the Democratic Republic of Congo so everything is in proper perspective. I won't go back very long, but I'll just take you back to the time that Mobutu was about to leave power. Mobutu was now tired. He was rejected by the Western world, and they had gone to use somebody who was in exile by the name of Laurent Kabila, whom Rwanda, Kagame, and the Western power chose in order to be the front man who will fight Mobutu so they can actually gain power. Pretty much what they're doing today with the guy called Naanga, who is the head of the M23. So here we can see Nelson Mandela, who was actually brokering a deal between the then rebel Laurent Kabila and Mobutu, who was also working for the CIA for 32 years, having looted the country himself and enriched himself in so many ways. He had fallen out of tune with the Western world and he was discarded. He was about to be thrown into the beast. And so they took somebody else to take over from him. And that was Laurent Kabila, who was chosen by Rwanda and the Western power, like I said, because by himself, he could have never come to the place of making a deal with Mobutu. But here, he basically told Mobutu, said, pack your things and go. I have no negotiation to do with you. The same thing that Naanga is doing to Felix Tshisekedi today. And who is the power behind this? Rwanda is. And Museveni of Uganda is also behind this. And you can add Kenya into this as well, because these are the three countries. It's sad to see that Kenya is getting involved into this, but you'll find out more as to why this is the case. Nelson Mandela tried to bring the African leaders together and said, look, you need to broker a deal. You need to find peace for the Democratic Republic of Congo. But Laurent Kabila was adamant. He just wanted Mobutu to leave. But before Mobutu left power, he said that there will be a floodgates of wars that will ensue my departure from this country. Obviously, he knew who the enemies were. Here's Laurent Kabila, whom people say is the adoptive father of Joseph Kabila. So here Mobutu, he was tired, he was very ill, very sick, and it wasn't long after this that he died, by the way. But you can see Thabo Mbeki, you can see Nelson Mandela trying to broker a deal. Obviously, things had failed in this instance, and it was only a couple of days after that Mobutu fled the country. And we'll see that Mobutu obviously during his heydays, when he was in good relationship with the Western and with the world around him, such a strong man for the CIA, who could depose this man? He opened his doors and borders to any person, and mostly to the Western power. He says, come and take gold, take diamond, take cobalt, take everything and anything you want. So long as you maintain me in power, I'll be the king. So they did everything for him. They gave him what he wanted. He gave them what he wanted, until it got to a stage where it wasn't going well. The tune was not to the sound of Mobutu, and the Western power had used him as much as they want to. Now they wanted to get rid of him. The same thing that they are doing right now. They will use any president that would allow them to use them, and then they'll get rid of them. So Mobutu was okay as long as he was giving, as long as he was submitting, as long as he was pretty much part of the plan that the Western world had for him. Everything was okay. The man in power, the king, he ruled the country with an iron fist. He amassed a lot of wealth for him. Back in those days, 1997, he was a billionaire. He was worth more than 10 billion before he left. This is what is said, and this is what we read in the papers. But now when they got rid of him, what do you think happened? They said, okay, we're going to get a rebel named Laurent Kabila who's going to take after him. And then Laurent Kabila was not even the main man. It was Kagame who was planning how to get into the DRC, this big elephant country that has all the resources. Now, believe you me, Kagame was trained by the US Army. He knows quite a few things about wars, but Kagame is only a tiny little thing in the equation here. We have to understand that the plan for the DRC, for the Democratic Republic of Congo, was conceived in Europe, in America, who, for them, the country is just too big for one leader, for one to be a country. We must sever this in several parts, and we're going to take the chunk that has most minerals. In this way, we can actually control the resources of this country. And this is what they have always done. So they use Kagame in order to topple down Mobutu's government when they didn't want him anymore. Here we can see the African leaders getting together after, even prior to Laurent Kabila becoming president. They're signing deals. They're signing deals about what they're going to have. Now, this man knows that there's something wrong. You can tell. I'm saying you can tell because of the things that unfolded after this event. When he came into power, he knew that there was something wrong here because everybody wanted to lay their hands on the resources of the DRC. And he knew it was wrong. But because he wanted power, because he wanted revenge, because he wanted basically to see himself becoming a president. So he accepted, unfortunately, he accepted the deal that was put on the table to him by Rwanda, by Uganda, and he said yes to it, and he signed the deal. And this deal gave so much of the wealth of Congo away to other foreign countries, Uganda and Rwanda. Now, it's silly. Now, when I look back and I read the papers that they did sign, apparently those who were there as witnesses, they could not believe their eyes. How can a president, how can somebody who hasn't even come into power sign so many deals that gives away the sovereignty of the nation? Now, what happened is when he reached into Kinshasa, he turned his back on the people that helped him, on the people that he signed agreement with the people that he said, look, oh, you and I, we're going to work together when we get to Congo. He agreed to so many things, but when he got to Congo, he changed. He kicked out the Tutsi. He kicked out Rwanda. He said, I don't want anything to do with you. He doesn't say, I don't recognize any deal. We'll pay you and then you can go. Now, do you know what happened? During that time, the Rwanda Kagame and his men, they went back out of the country and they mounted another coup. I think they said to themselves, look, we will show you that we are the ones who put you there. We will get rid of you as much as we're getting rid of Mobutu. He didn't last long. It was less than 3 years in power that Mobutu was assassinated by his bodyguard, but a lot of people allege that it was actually a coup, and Joseph Kabila, the adoptive son, was also part of it, that he knew what was happening and he knew that they were going to make him president. So Kagame prepared Joseph Kabila to take over from Mobutu. Now, once he was in power, he obviously gave his loyalty, and that is Kabila Joseph. He gave his loyalty and allegiance to Kagame. He opened the doors to Kagame, who had access in the eastern part of Congo, Kivu, and Goma, and they just basically had their hands on all the minerals in that area. And they had some of the armies from Rwanda. In fact, Rwanda had its generals ruling, or at least leading the Congolese army in the eastern part of Congo. This is apparently what the deal was, that they'll give 40% of the infrastructure, or at least the leadership of the army, to Rwanda. So Rwanda was basically dictating what was happening in North Kivu and South Kivu while Kabila Joseph was in power. And they were just basically had a quota of how much of the natural resources they were to take every month. And all of this went unchecked. Nobody would question, nobody had to stop him, because this is the deal that was struck. And Kabila Joseph was okay with it because he knew what was actually unfolding. Now, when Tshisekedi came into power, now a new dynamics has come into play, and he was not going to give into the arrangement that was done before him. Now, Kabila didn't leave power because he wanted to, but he was forced to do that because he was no longer in sync with Washington. They had to get rid of him because he gave access to to China and to basically the interest of the West wasn't guaranteed anymore. So we see what unfolded during those time and what has ensured that relationship with Kabila, with Felix Tshisekedi. Said, look, we are buddies. Let's work together for the good of the Congo. But things didn't last because they didn't allow him to do, that is Felix Tshisekedi, didn't get the freedom to do what he wanted to do because people voted him in power so that he can ameliorate and make life better. But life wasn't getting better for the citizen, for the average man in the street, and they knew there was something wrong. But then, Tshisekedi said to himself, I think this alliance with Kabila is basically getting things worse for us. I wanted us to work together, but they don't want to. They want me to basically fail in my mission so people would obviously hate me. So he decided to turn things around. He quit the alliance that he had with Joseph Kabila's party, and he decided to go it alone with other people who will work with him. So he formed another group, and then he started leading the country. Doing so caused a lot of friction within the internal politics of the Democratic Republic of Congo. So many people revolted. Many people grouped and ganged up. They said, look, this man is going in the wrong direction because he wants to help the people, because he wants to do things his own way. So we have to topple him. So after about 4 years into power, we know and we understand that Kabila started plotting, he started maneuvering so he can basically bring him down. And after a little while, all that we know is that Kabila left Congo. He was now in exile. And President Tshisekedi said it. He said he knows and he understands that it is Kabila who's backing the M23. He's backing Naanga because Naanga was his front man, because Naanga was with Kabila, was in sync with him. And it's so unfortunate that this situation is coming back again. History repeating itself. So what we have seen here, Naanga not being happy of what is happening in Kinshasa, he decided to go into rebellion. And that means taking arms and fighting against Kinshasa, against his own people. So he decided to kill the people. As much as you've seen bloodshed in Goma, Naanga is the man who orchestrated this. But behind Naanga, there is Kabila. Behind Kabila, there is Kagame. Behind Kagame, there is all the multinationals and the companies that are wanting to have access into all that is produced in North and South Kivu. This is a sad story. And you can see here Naanga, he's coming out, he's like a happy man. He's thinking, look, I've won the battle, I've made it. But this was the case with Laurent Kabila as well. As much as Laurent Kabila was told, you're going to be this, you're going to be that, this is what they're saying to Naanga as well. And you've got quite a few people here that are clapping their hands, but the majority of the people who know the story of Congo, they know it's not going to end up good for Naanga. And they know that what is happening right now is not good for the country at all. And they know that in the days to come here, things will change. But I fear if things do change this time around, Rwanda, with those who are backing the M23, they are very decisive. They're not going to play games again. They are going to balkanize that part of the country. They are going to have access. They're going to do whatever it will take in order to change the country forever. And this is why Naanga here is the man who is going to pay such a heavy price. And I know that history is repeating itself, but I just wanted you to get to understand that what is happening at the moment in North Kivu is the story of the DRC repeating itself. There are powers that are behind Naanga. That is Joseph Kabila, and that is Kagame, and that is Museveni, and that is the multinational, and that is the Western powers. And it's a terrible, terrible situation to see this country that was somehow taking off. Now, I'm not here advocating and saying that there is nothing wrong with Tshisekedi. As a president and as a leader, he's got his own many mistakes that he had made. But this is something that I'm going to talk about in another video. But just understand that his history repeating itself in the DRC. Hopefully, it won't get as bad as this. Watch out for the next video. Take care. Bye-bye now.